Good morning, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, guys. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. First off, congratulations. It is very difficult on social media to be getting nonstop praise, as Joe Buck would probably tell you. But man, you were trending over the weekend with your call of the game, so people seem to be loving you as the new media star. So early congratulations on that.
Well, I appreciate it. I don't know about that. It's funny. I joke with some buddies, like, you can always. It's funny how the same people can watch a game and, say it's this weekend, right? Cowboys fans. Olsen hates the Cowboys.
Yeah.
He wants Dak to lose, and then you'll see, like, right after that on the timeline, you'll see, a San Francisco fan be like, could Olsen love the Cowboys any more than he does? Like, it's just funny. People, the feedback on broadcasters right now, I feel like, is kind of just like a trendy thing.
When did you get settled in? When were you like? I mean, was it last year? When did you get settled in, even to like the number one spot where you kind of caught your groove?
I'll be honest. I haven't been doing it that long that I feel like I've really, completely settled in. Each week, there's a new experience. There's something new that happens in the truck. There's something new that happens during the game in the broadcast booth that, until those things happen in real time and you have to kind of adjust on the fly and kind of, accommodate it, you really don't, you don't know what you don't know. And so every week, what's cool about this is every week there really is a new learning kind of opportunity and a new experience that I had never, had before. And that's what makes it fun. That's what makes each week, kind of a challenge, and you're kind of anxious to see, what does this weekend have to offer. But, I've known Kevin for a long time. That story's been pretty well told, and have a great comfort level with him in the booth, and a great trust that he's going to kind of steer the broadcast, in directions that he knows that I'm, eager to talk about and excited to kind of explore. And to have that ability to just kind of lean on him to kind of steer the broadcast, and then just be able to react and talk ball and just kind of talk what I see is a pretty nice position, when you're me,
Greg Olsen here on 105 through the Fan. Before we get to the 49ers, being on Fox, you're going to have the Cowboys a lot with NFC coverage. What have some of the production meetings been like? Getting to know some of the guys, or the experiences or the stories with Mike McCarthy and Dak, and being on the opposite end of that behind the scenes with the Cowboys?
It's been great. I'll tell you, every time we have the Cowboys, I look forward. I actually have I have Dak and Mike McCarthy and Dan Quinn here this afternoon, here in a couple hours. So I look forward to it. Every time we have the Cowboys, I know the production meetings are going to be highly valuable. The coaches are very open. They're honest. Some coaches, you feel like, the second they jump on the call, they're like ready to get off, or you're kind of like bothering them and they're in the middle of something else. Mike and Dan and Dak, when we've gotten them, like, they are super engaging, super transparent, and we have some great conversations that sometimes you look down at the phone, you're like, all right, coach, don't you have to go? Like, I feel like you need to go somewhere. But they're just generous with their time. It's been great. I didn't know Mike that well personally. I've obviously played against him a number of times, all the way back to his time in Green Bay when I was in Chicago. But, just spending time picking his brain, understanding how his thought process as a head coach works, not only schematically with an offensive mind and perspective alongside Kellen Moore, but then also just running the team, dealing with short weeks, practice schedules, adjustments. So it's really a cool insight for me that I find fascinating, to be able to pick the brains of guys and kind of put some of these thoughts in your back pocket and say, this is how you run a team. This is how you motivate players. And just, there's all sorts of cool little nuggets you pick up from those calls. And Dan and Mike have been as good to us as anybody in the league this year.
Greg, we've been style pointing their games down the stretch. Not very good against Washington, the game against Jacksonville. We did not expect that. What did you see that they did in this game that they did not do over the last month of the season?
Yeah, they picked their best. They picked the best week to probably play their best overall game, or maybe amongst their best overall games. You look back to that game they had against Minnesota weeks back, where they blew them out pretty good. They really put it all together. So I mean, there's been times this year, and we've called some of them, where when you watch Dallas play, you say, this, are we watching the best team in the league? Talent wise, scheme wise, coaching, when they put it together on both sides of the ball, and they're playing as well as they did last week against Tampa, they're one of those teams that you look at and say, okay, this team is capable of winning the whole thing. And that Week 18 game, it's no secret. Anybody who watched it, we were there in Washington for that regular season finale, and they really struggled. They played poorly. Really, defensively, they were okay. They got put in some bad spots with the early special teams turnovers, and then, obviously offensively they didn't do a ton. But to see Dak and to see that offense kind of respond the way they did last week against Tampa, it's probably the most decisive Dak has played in these last couple of weeks. He was so clear with where he wanted to go with the ball. He was so clear with his progressions. Even when he wanted to break the pocket and get out and he saw some rush lanes, he took it. Dak was really, really impressive the entire game. The offensive line did a nice job kind of reconfiguring itself again. It seems like every week they've had to reconfigure that starting five, obviously with Jason Peters going out. So I give a lot of credit to those guys. And then Dan Quinn's defense, they've been playing at a high level. They play so fast. It almost looks like the game's in fast forward when you watch the film. So if they play like that and San Francisco plays like they have, I think this is the game of the year up until this point, at least on paper.
Yeah, how do you see them matching up, Greg? And how do you think the Cowboys can pull off this upset?
Yeah, I think, when you look at both teams, first and foremost, what jumps out at you is just no matter who has the ball, no matter which side of the ball you're studying, there's just star all-pro caliber players everywhere. So I think from a roster standpoint and from a talent standpoint, I think it's fairly close. I think when you're on offense, if you're Dak and Mike McCarthy and Kellen and you're putting this plan together, it all starts with accounting for that front. That front now that has gotten healthy with Armstead after missing some time earlier in the year. Of course, everyone knows about Bosa, Kinlaw kind of getting his legs back under him. That defensive line, which has always kind of been how they built that 49ers defense over the years with all those first-round picks, you got to account for them. If you don't have a great protection plan, if you don't have a great run plan to try to negate those guys, they need to force the 49ers secondary to carry the load, right? And that's attacking the ball downfield. That's running. It's going to be very hard to run between the tackles. It's going to be very hard. You don't want to get into a third and long contest where you're pass blocking every time. So I think for Dallas, being aggressive early, staying out of passing downs, where now if you want to pass, you can, but you have the option of play action and not being so predictable, because that front, we've seen it time and time again, when they could put their 4 pass rushers in those track stances and it's 3rd and 8+ and it's a passing down, it's tough sledding for anybody. So I think offensively that's what it comes down to. And then listen, on defense, Dan Quinn's going to have a great plan, and the 49ers are a handful. We've seen it. They're going to have their plays. You have to do the best job you can limiting the explosives. And that's both long ball, long throw, and that's also short throw, long run. And it's easier said than done. They have so many different weapons and create such space with Shanahan's offense. It's going to be a challenge. They're going to, like I said, they're going to get their plays. McCaffrey and Debo, they're going to get their plays. You just have to try to keep a lid on it. And you can't let a 5-yard drag route turn into a 50-yard touchdown. And we saw that against Seattle last week, and that's when the game kind of got out of hand.
Greg, there's been a lot of discussion around here about this tight turnaround time for Dallas, playing a Monday night game on the road, coming back, then having to go for a Sunday game on the road. First, a quick trivia question about your own career. Do you know how many times you played a Monday night game on the road followed by a Sunday game on the road the next week?
No, that's a great question. I have no idea.
Once, 2012. You did it against Philly on Monday night and then went to Kansas City on the road the next week. But you talked about McCarthy and learning.
And we lost. I think we lost them both, didn't we?
No, you beat Philly. You beat Philly and then you lost to Kansas City.
We beat Philly. We lost to Kansas City. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So you split them. But you talked about how getting to know Mike McCarthy, one of the things you mentioned there was his practice schedule and the way that he handles tight turnarounds. How difficult is this turnaround going to be, and how do you think Mike McCarthy's approaching that?
Yeah, I think his experience just from doing this, from being a head guy for so long now, I mean, obviously he has a ton of experience to draw from, and he'll rely on his vets to kind of get a taste for how everybody's bodies are feeling. And listen, if I was a Dallas fan and I was a Dallas player, I would probably feel the same way. I think when you look at it, though, I think it all kind of plays itself out. I know in this particular week, Dallas kind of has the short week and San Francisco has the extra days. And, but frankly, and I'm sure Dallas fans are not going to love this, but when you're talking about from week 18 to the Monday night game that you guys played. Maybe you have that extra day or two, that you had at San Francisco. They played on Saturday. You play on Monday. Tyler Biotish gets 2 more days with the ankle. Now he's healthy, so you go into the wild card round maybe a little more fresh. So I think at various points in the season, different teams have different advantages. I understand in this particular week having the 2-day span, but 10 days ago, Dallas had the extra couple days and San Francisco was on the short week. So I think when it's all said and done, I don't think you're going to hear a lot of complaints out of Mike McCarthy or, in the coaching staff and the players there. You understand in the NFL, you deal with the hand that you're dealt. Mike will have a great plan for getting these guys' legs back under them. And I promise you, when that ball is kicked off, Dallas will be just as prepared with, their 5 days if they had 10 days. They'll be prepared. They'll be ready. Their guys will be ready to rock. And I think once the ball kicks off, I don't think the difference in time between games is going to have much of an impact on the game.
Greg Olsen joining us here, 105 through the Fan. Brock Purdy, is he more game manager or can he go get you and win you a game?
When we called his debut, we went out there and called his first game that he started against Tampa, and they blew the doors off of Tampa. It was like 28-0 or 35-0 at halftime or something crazy. And I think at the time the consensus was he's got very good talent around him. He's executing a really good offensive system with Kyle Shanahan, and he's just got to go out there and just play his role and not do anything crazy. Don't put the ball in jeopardy and just let everybody around him win the game. And that was probably the case early on. But I'll tell you what, these last couple weeks to end the regular season and then last week in Seattle, he is impacting the game. He is not just playing the typical role of the rookie quarterback and just saying, hey, stay out of the way, let everyone else do their job and make a couple throws a game. I mean, he is running that offense. I mean, you look, they got up last week on Seattle pretty big there in the second half. And the conventional wisdom says, all right, I got a rookie quarterback, a great defense. Let's just hand the ball off to McCaffrey 100 times, punt, play defense, and let's get out of here. Don't let the rookie turn it over. They kept swinging. They kept throwing the ball with a lead. I think they have a ton of confidence in Brock Purdy. He's proven that he can take care of the ball. I think he is impacting the game more and more each week, which is really impressive, especially considering we all know the story of where he came from and how this all came to be. I think it's a testament. I think we'd be doing him a disservice by just giving him the typical talking point that he's just out there kind of managing the game and just not really contributing, because I don't think that's the case.
If you're Mike McCarthy and Brett Maher goes out there and misses his first extra point, do you go for 2 the rest of the day?
Oh, man, that's why Mike McCarthy gets paid the big bucks. I'll tell you
so
what.
So do you.
Hey, you ain't broke.
True.
He said true.
True.
Flex.
I'll be honest. I think the whole world, other than maybe some diehard Cowboys fans that I'm sure were not happy, I think the whole world, I know I did, I felt for him watching that on Monday night. You see a guy miss 1, okay, 2, okay, and then you expect the next 3 to go in, and you're kind of almost rooting for him to make a big 50-yarder before the half or something to just kind of catch his breath, and then just to see him continue and end up missing 4. That was hard to watch. I think at this point in the season, you can't overreact. If I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm not overreacting, probably not talking about it a lot. I'm encouraging him to just go out there. And what's your normal routine? What's been the routine you've had all season long? You've been a very accurate kicker for us. You've made some big kicks over the course of the season. So find that routine, go back and find your rhythm. And early in that game, you're holding your breath. Because I think it's like a shooter, right, who's in a shooting slump. You need to see one ball go through the rim. You need to see one ball hit the bottom of the net. In this case, you need one ball to split the uprights. And whether that's an extra point or a 50-yard field goal on the opening drive, whatever it is, I think he sees one ball early go through. I think he's going to take a deep breath and find your rhythm. And I know that's what every Cowboys fan is hoping for. To answer your question directly, I'm considering it. I'll be honest. I'm at least considering my 4th down strategy down in the red zone. And I think, we saw that on the little wheel that they threw for the touchdown to CeeDee Lamb. They had 4th and 3, and everyone's saying, all right, they're going to bring out the kicker, and he didn't. And then ended up getting him a touchdown. But I think if he hadn't missed all those extra points, I think 4th and 3 there, you take the 3 and take the field goal. But I think that is going to be the most anticipated first point after try or a short field goal, maybe in NFL history come Sunday.
Hey, man, thank you so much for the time. We've been wanting to get you on forever. Congratulations on a tremendous start to the broadcast career, and we'll all be watching on Sunday. Thank you, Greg.
I appreciate you. Thanks, guys.